Yeah, so basically what we now have to do is um, go back in and refine uh, the spikes. So right now they are just very basic, very standard. A Well, they look like they are a not a natural shape. So we want to go back in and try and get the natural shape of the spike kind of there. So try and create kind of a shape that looks natural to you. I'm sorry if I'm not really talking much right now, but it's just that there isn't a lot to say right now. And the spikes are getting wider and wider and thicker. So at this point you have to pay a little bit attention to the way that you draw them in, because they still need to have that natural look without them looking too big. So the way that I chose to draw them right now is basically, let me just get a piece of paper, is basically this shape. So they are facing, if this is the back of the dinosaur, they are kind of at an angle like this. So what I want to do is draw a shape like this. So a straight line down like this, then a straight line like this, and then basically something like that. So you kind of get a kind of a look like they are facing that way. I was kind of exaggerating with that example, but it is basically what I try to do right now. And this is going to be a area where it's going to be a little bit harder because they are so small and still so big, so thick. And these one are supposed to be a little bit smaller, and this should be fine for now. Now I want to focus on kind of the spikes that are more at the other side, so we can kind of get glimpses of the spikes that are on the other side. You don't see anything right here, but I'm gonna just draw it in like that. Well, let's not, because right now they reappear this side over here. So something like that, and they kind of disappear again over here. Make sure you make them the right height and everything. And from this point on, they kind of disappear back behind the other spikes that are already there. Because at this point they kind of become straighter and straighter until there is nothing left. So at this point you don't see any more of them. Well, you do kind of start to see them again at this side, but just a little bit. That's gonna be all. Alright, so now we need to draw in the areas for the shadow. So we have a piece of skin that kind of goes like this, and it kind of goes into a area of the skin that is kind of goes all the way from his belly to his front limb over here, and everything underneath this will be dark, will be very dark. So you can just darken it in with your pencil, and you don't have to be afraid, because you don't really see too much of detail underneath there. Alright, and then you want to do the same kind of thing over here, but this is actually going a little bit more like this. So you want to do the same kind of thing over here, but now it kind of goes into a kind of a muscle kind of thing, maybe an Audrey over there. There are a couple of Audreys over there as well. Pay attention to that, and don't go too much over those highlights, because you do want to keep a couple of highlights there. Make sure that they are there, and everything else can just be darkened. We do have a little bit of a highlight over there, so pay attention to that, and that's gonna be all. Everything else will be dark. So it might look odd right now, but I assure you that it will eventually look a lot better. So we have a kind of a protruding piece of bone over here, or maybe a muscle. So at the under area of it, it will be very dark, but above this area, it's gonna be a highlight. And underneath there's also gonna be a little bit of a highlight right there. And then we have a lot of shadow like this, and the shadow kind of goes like this, just underneath his mouth. And then of course we have a lot of shadow over here for the kind of the dent in his skull. And a little bit of shadow over here as well. And above his eye will be a lot of shadow, because it's kind of in a eye socket kind of thing. And we can't really put in too much detail over here because we have a limited amount of space right now over here. And this is a very hard area, to be honest, to get everything looking right, the right way we want it to look. Just make sure to leave a couple of highlights. Alright, something like this. And then we have a muscle in his neck over here as well. So we want to draw in a little bit of shadow for that as well. A couple of lines going up, curving upwards to kind of create a look like the shadow is fading a little bit into the light area. And kind of do the same over here, but make sure that you kind of attach those spikes onto his body like this. Kind of go into his body, and it needs to look as natural as you can make it look. So kind of do something like that on every single spike, but make sure you only do it at the ones that are at our side, not on the opposite side, because otherwise you will kind of ruin your drawing if you did do it and you did it a little bit too dark. So now we want to have the muscles. So we want to have a muscle over here and one over here as well. Very strange, because this is the way that my reference looks. This muscle goes like this, and then this muscle over here kind of goes like this, and then I suppose we have one over there. So we want to draw in the under sections of the muscles, the areas where the sunlight is kind of blocked by the muscles. Not sure again why those muscles look as strange. Like, you know what, I'm just gonna stick with my own kind of way of drawing the muscles, because I can't really trust this reference too much. Well, I mean, I can trust it a little bit, but yeah, it's just a little bit strange in my opinion, the way that everything is put in here. Something like this, and then this muscle will be very dark. This one will be a lot lighter. And then this muscle will just have a little bit of shadow over there, like this. Then we have a muscle that goes like this over here, going into his toes, and we have a muscle over here. So we want to draw a lot of shadow at the under area and also over here. And this area will be completely highlighted. Still not happy with the way this looks. I'm afraid I'm gonna ruin it if I do this too many times, but I need to get it right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna draw one big muscle over here, then one big muscle over here, and that's gonna be it. And this would be darkened as well. And then let's make those lines go like this and like this. Then we would have a shoulder muscle over here, I guess, which would also be darkened at the bottom. But we do need to have the highlighted areas as well, so I can't get too much of shadow and everything in. Maybe this area should be highlighted a little bit more. Alright. Something like this. And there will be a very big spike over here, by the way, which I kind of missed in the first section of this video. But it's there. And maybe I'll make something different over here. I'll just have a couple of lines kind of going down like this. And I don't want this muscle either. And then just create a little bit of detail here and there. Because I did kind of mess up this area. I have to go back with my eraser and make it a little bit lighter, otherwise it's just gonna be too dark. So we do want to have a lot of shadow over here, this area over here, and of course we do have a couple of ribs that are kind of showing a little bit. Kind of want to draw those in as well and make them look very dark as well, something like this. And there's gonna be a lot more shadow over here, so just kind of try and get the shadows right, and just a little bit of a rip right there, which you can kind of see. Well, now we have to do the shadow for this leg with a muscle that goes like this, a muscle that goes like this, and one that goes like this, goes underneath this one. No, well, this one goes underneath this one, and then we have one more over here. Then yeah, then you kind of get the toes. So draw in the shadow for this muscle, draw in the shadow for this muscle over here, and then kind of have a little bit of something like this going on. It's not going to be too much of a deal. And then kind of have a little bit of shadow going over here, but make sure you don't touch the outer line because that's going to be a highlight. And of course a lot of shadow over here as well. Alright, and we have the hip bone kind of protruding a little bit out over there, and the muscles kind of going there as well. Alright, and now you want to have a couple of lines going from the black area to the highlighted area a little bit more, so it still looks kind of like you have that smooth transition between dark and light. Well, of course you don't have it, but it's kind of an illusion. It looks a little bit nicer. And then just kind of have the same thing over here as well as with the ribs. And you could of course just put in some detail everywhere. But make sure that if you're drawing skills, that the shadow will be facing downwards. I'm kind of smearing everything around because I'm not using that little piece of paper that I normally use because I kind of lost it. Oh, I found it. So I'm just gonna try and get everything a little bit of shadow and everything, and not really paying too much attention to where I put all the details and stuff. So this line should go like this. And now I can go to this area, kind of make sure that it kind of looks presentable. So there are going to be nails on the end of each toe. There's going to be an ankle over there. You can't really see too much of. And you have a lot of white space left right now. So what you could do is just, like I said, put those little scales and details in there and just put them in random. Don't just well, you could of course do it systematically, but it, in my opinion, it looks the most naturalistic, I think that's the right word, if you put those scales in randomly at a random place. So I could just get a very big one right here, just do a couple of them right there, and maybe a couple of them right here as well. Kind of put them on his leg. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, just try something. I'm just trying to get a little bit of shading at this area of his belly. Alright, so now I need to go into the muscle of his tail. So there's gonna be a very big area that's gonna be darkened. Very, very big area. Basically the whole underside of his tail will be very dark. So that's gonna be something like this. That's gonna be a very dark area. Then you have a muscle, kind of goes like this. And this is gonna be a highlight between the tail muscle and the shadowed area of his tail. And this is gonna be very dark as well. Then we kind of have this area between the tail and, I mean, between the muscle and well, let's say those are two big muscles actually, so it doesn't really matter. And try and get a couple of those lines in there, kind of get that cool effect. and kind of make sure that those lines go up into the lighter area as well. Alright, so I believe this would be about fine for now. So now we still need to do a little bit about this foot. So you would have a toe right here and a nail on it and one right there. Do the same thing on this side, just get just a little bit more in front. And kind of get a little bit of shadow going on in between those toes. Kind of get a nice look out of it. And then this same kind of shadow on this leg as well. And make it a little bit darker as well, because it's on the other side, maybe even on the underside. I mean, compared to the light, maybe the light is shining on it from, no, it's exactly above it. So I'm not sure how I'm still smudging everything around, because that's not my intention, of course. I'm kind of making a mess of this drawing already. So I kind of messed up the muscles on this